So welcome everybody to new advisor orientation. My name is Anita Gonzalez and I am the Deputy Director for New Mexico Mesa. My office, I am located in Las Vegas, New Mexico, but I am part of our main office team, which is based there out of Albuquerque. So welcome today. And I see some familiar faces coming in for a refresher, and I see some new faces that are brand new with us. So welcome everybody to the New Mexico Mesa family. So a little bit about Mesa. Some of you guys may have been given some kind of background, and I know oftentimes it's just, here you go, there's this thing called Mesa, and get after it there. So a little bit about Mesa, Math, Engineering, Science Achievement. We are an organization. This year is actually our 40th birthday. So we originated in 1982-1983 school year. And our mission is to basically empower our students with STEM enrichment, hoping to get them into a diversified and a STEM workforce. So getting our students, into college, into secondary education, and into careers, into STEM careers. So the way that New Mexico Mesa is structured is we have our main office, which is located in Albuquerque through New Mexico Tech, who is our fiscal sponsor. And we also have regional offices located across the state, all these nice little arrows here. So the way that we're structured is our main office consists of myself, our executive director, Miss Ling Faith Hewarts, and we do have an accounting technician there considered, main office staff. And then in all the regional office, we have regional coordinators. So if you are not sure what region you're in, this is a great opportunity, and also to see who else is in the room with us. So in the chat box here, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, put your name and your school, and then if you don't know your region, I'll go ahead and let you know possibly what region you're in, if you're not sure. That'll also give me an idea of who is in the meeting today. And Tracy and Justina, Justin, not just, what school are you guys from? Oh, Tracy's at Taos. Oh, nice to meet you, Tracy. I've been emailing you.
Yes. Yeah, I'm with Andy in Taos. He's kind of roped me into this.
Okay, well, good. It's good to put a face to the name. Good to put a face to the email. John Adams. And Justin, what school are you at, Justin?
I teach at Deming Intermediate School in Deming, New Mexico.
Okay, there it just came through now. I apologize. So you're in the Southwest region. Good. So it looks like we have some teachers from all over. So that is a good thing. So again, and just again, as far as, hierarchy or, who do you go to? I want to stress really important that these names here, these are the names of your regional coordinators. Your regional coordinators are your first point of contact for mostly everything within Mesa. And so these are the individuals that will help you with your day-to-day, that will help you, just kind of get situated within the Mesa program. So very important here to get used to these names here. We do have regional offices, like as I mentioned, here at UNM Gallup, our Western region. Here in Santa Fe is our North Central region. Las Vegas houses our North region. Albuquerque at UNM Engineering hosts our Central Inner. At Eastern Roswell hosts our Southeast, and in Las Cruces, we have our Southwest region. Today should go pretty quickly, just kind of giving you an overview about Mesa. Your regional coordinator will follow up with additional training or additional information you may need to get started with Mesa. But today we're just going to cover, basic resources, statewide resources, go over the handbook, going over performance watch meetings, what to do in meetings, what are your basic duties as an advisor, how to prepare for things, our data entry. Some of you have already attended the ThinkWave training, some of you have not yet. Some of you may have attended the ThinkWave training and some of that terminology may have been a little bit different to you because you're brand new to Mesa. Also then our next steps and just kind of going over our advisor handbook. So when we talk about resources, there are a lot of things available to you. The first thing that I'm going to stress is we have really made an effort to make our website pretty much the main point for most things Mesa. If you need forms, if you need documents, if you need information. So if you have not already visited our website, please make some time to go check it out. I'll be showing it later on in the session, showing you where to find things. On our website, we do have links for a lot of resources, curriculums, digital media, all the forms that you are going to need, the place to log in for ThinkWave. Pretty much everything you're going to need is going to be available through our website portal. We have converted over the years to be using a lot of digital media. And so we have been recording a lot of things. As we've switched over to virtual sessions or hybrid events, we have been making an effort to record and post and kind of share out and do lessons to allow for asynchronous events or just, independent events, or even just to catch up on things as refreshers. So we have opened up a YouTube channel. And so we've been posting a lot of things up on there. So even recently right now, I did went ahead and it's now updated with a lot of new content, has quite a few series on there that I'll get into a little bit later, but that is a great resource for videos there. We also do have some social media outlets. So when we're giving announcements, we're giving posts, besides our website, besides Do Your Regional Coordinator, we also do like to do, some announcements and sharing some good news through our different social media sites. So give us a follow on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. This is what our website looks like. It's pretty user-friendly. Up here at the top, are the different tabs that I will be talking about, or where to find things. But just so you know, kind of that this is in the right place when you've hit our New Mexico Mesa website. The tabs up at the top are pretty important. Here, advisors, this is the main place you're going to go when you're looking for logins of things or forms of places or whatnot. This is also our place when we're talking about loyalty award and information for our students. They also are directed here. As staff, we also use this as a repository for some information. So we go here also for things. So this is just kind of the place to go. And usually whenever we have a main event or something happening, I will be changing out this banner here at the front. If there's anything upcoming, these headers down here at the bottom will give you more of the latest type of news. Okay. I'm going to take a second to go into the Advisor Handbook. You may or may not have already opened this or gotten a link to it. A lot of the stuff in the handbook I'm going to review in today's session, and then I'll show you the handbook and where to find things afterwards. This is the best resource for you as a new advisor. Suggested to get it, print it, read through it, save it. It just has, just generally steps and everything that you'll need to know to get situated to be an advisor. It does have general information for Mesa, and it does go over some forms. Just make a note that if you have not already, to go ahead and get to the Advisor Handbook and to review it at some point in time here soon. Within the Advisor Handbook, again, as I mentioned, it goes over, who to contact for information, how we're structured, your responsibility, what students need and how they need it. It does go over some of the stuff we're going to go today about what to do in activities. It goes over loyalty award information. And again, a term of loyalty award, which you may or may not know, loyalty award it's not a scholarship, it's the award that we provide our Mesa students for being active within the Mesa program. So that our students, by the time they graduate as seniors, they are eligible for up to $1,000. So a little bit different than a scholarship, but to do that, you have to qualify by doing certain things. Okay, and it just gives information on forms. But as I mentioned, our website will have all the forms downloadable for you. Now we're getting into the requirements of what it takes to have a Mesa program. And again, in the chat, I have it kind of open here. My colleagues are also helping to watch the chat. As you have any questions, or if I'm saying a term that just maybe is not familiar to you, or if you need a little bit more emphasis on something, please go ahead and just jump on in. We're a small group today, so go ahead and please feel free to and comfortable to ask questions. Performance Watch is the standards that we have determined to have a base or a minimum Mesa program. So every year we track performance, or we track what you've been doing in Mesa, what your students have been doing Mesa, and there's a set level of activity that all Mesa programs should have. By saying that though, Performance Watch keeps you as a Mesa program, but to really give your students a quality Mesa program, or really getting them those loyalty points, making them to be like a good Mesa student, or to have, more activity, you really should strive to go above and beyond Performance Watch. So this is kind of, the minimum standard, but please strive to, go a little bit above and beyond. Also, when we're talking about that loyalty award, making sure that your students have enough opportunities to do something. You all know sometimes you'll plan something and not all of your students have an opportunity to go to that one event that you may plan. So it is also nice to have multiple opportunities for students to meet, their requirements and to give them opportunities to earn participation points. So the basic requirements are, as a Mesa program, you should have at least 20 registered students, and you become an official Mesa student by completing the minimum Mesa paperwork, which I'll talk about later, but it's just the A0 form. Throughout the year, you should strive to hold at least 15 meetings. That is on average about even less than about twice a month. But some programs meet weekly, some programs meet bi-weekly, but at minimum, you should be having about 15 student meetings, one leadership activity, participation at one of our Mesa competitions. So the regional rally is typically hosted in the fall, sponsored by your regional coordinator. And Mesa Day and Mesa USA are statewide competitions that are held in the spring. You should look to participate in at least one. And so they're all different formats, they're all different availabilities, they're all different days. So hopefully one catches your eye. Hosting at least one parent meeting or parent event. When we say parent meeting, oftentimes people combine that with open houses or parent teacher conferences, just one kind of parent involvement event. Service learning is our way of saying community service. So one service learning opportunity. We kind of combine this into a catch-all of 3 workshops, speakers, or field experience activities, also known as field trips. So just 3 activities, STEM enrichment activities, and then making sure that the MOU is complete and signed and turned in. What the MOU is the Memorandum of Understanding, and that's the partnership between your district and New Mexico Mesa agreeing to have a Mesa program. As an advisor, you should be attending at least one RAM a year. So you guys have already met that requirement. Congratulations. You should be attending the regularly scheduled site visits that your coordinator has with you, and just making sure that you're in communication with your regional coordinator, with Mesa staff, turning in stuff when you need to, answering stuff when you need to, as long as we're able to get a hold of you and just stay in contact with you about the Mesa program. The 2 forms that Mesa signs with your school district, one is the Memorandum of Understanding and one is the Transportation Agreement. For most of your districts, these have already been sent out. So these are typically sent out the spring before the start of the school year. If they have not been turned in, there will be some communication between your regional coordinator and yourself and your district to get these turned in. But basically, these are the agreements that basically say what the district commits to. And part of that is, even agreeing, your minimum stipend, that they're agreeing to pay for certain transportation, that they agreed to let you have X number of leaves days for New Mexico Mesa programs. So that's really important to make sure that, all parties are protected and that it's an understanding between, who's putting in to make a good Mesa program. The other document is the advisor contract, and that's something that you'll be signing and submitting to your regional coordinator, just committing to the different requirements and responsibilities of the Mesa. Are there any questions so far? Okay. Moving on, we're going to go into some meetings. So the meetings at a Mesa program, these are the backbone, or these are the format, of your Mesa program at your school. Some of you may be able or may be lucky enough to be able to have a class at your school. Most of our programs do not. Our Mesa is situated to be an out of school time network program, an OST program. So if you are able to have it as a class, the only thing we ask is that you still make an opportunity to still host an OST component so that students that are not able to take the class still have the opportunity to join Mesa. So, say for instance, if your class is a 7th grade class and you still need an opportunity for those 6th and those 8th graders to be able to participate. So the format can be just whatever works for your school. It can be before school, during lunch, after school, if you guys have an advisory or a prep time, really whatever works. Every school, we work with 27 school districts and close to 100 schools throughout the state, and every single one of them has a different format and a different need for them. So if you're unsure as to maybe where to slate your Mesa time, that is a great question or something to work through with your regional coordinator to help you figure out the best time to have a quality Mesa meeting. For schools that have split schedules, like maybe your 6th graders are on one lunch, your 7th graders are on another lunch or different, that is where you might have to have a host a couple a week or something to try to catch them all. Or maybe that's an opportunity where maybe an after school or before school may work, just depending upon, your school layout. These meetings are really critical to just keep kids involved. If you are not having regular meetings, if you're not having regular activity, your students are probably not going to remain interested in the Mesa program just because they need that continual contact, just keeping informed of things, keeping active of things. So I know sometimes those are easy to get by, but even suggested, just kind of setting and also just to be consistent with your Mesa meetings as much as able is a helpful hint there. If you have them on the same day, the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of every month or whatever that may be, that's also very helpful for students to be able to find a meeting versus where a meeting time and place changes along. One thing we've also found that's helpful, and you guys as teachers know this more than us, is utilizing a Mesa bulletin board. If your school will allow you a place of to place contact information, that's also very helpful, is just to have like a Mesa place for that your students know to go look for information for. So even if your meetings are say every Tuesday, but maybe an opportunity comes up in between, maybe they can just know to walk by and check out that board, and that they're able to kind of look at these different opportunities for them. So during a meeting, you have the time now. Now what happens? This is your time to take care of paperwork. This is your time to take care of general business, to talk about upcoming activities, to plan upcoming activities, to prepare for competitions. A lot of our programs typically meet a lot more regular as they're getting ready for a competition. You can bring in your guest speakers, you can have workshops, do team building activities. In general, it should have within a Mesa meeting and the time that you have available, some sort of business, some sort of STEM enrichment or activity, and some sort of planning, like a next step, like when's the next meeting, what's next, some kind of signups for something else. So those are kind of the 3 things about a Mesa meeting. Some examples of paperwork that you can take, that you can do during a Mesa meeting. I mentioned this form, the A0. This is a new form to New Mexico Mesa. So if you have any experience with us in the past, ignore all the other requirements, the other numbers, but the A0 is our new form. It is a combination of our student profile and parent authorization forms. So it is now just one form, and it is now done all online, trying to make that a little bit more convenient than collecting multiple forms and who has what and who has what in. So now it's just one form. It is done online. There is a hard copy version available if that works best for you, but at some point that hard copy version will have to be translated into online, as that was all kind of merged. But so that is our one new form. The A3 field trip agreement is another form. We never collect that at our Mesa levels. That is just something, if you are planning on any kind of field trips or field experiences where you're leaving, you should collect that. It's a hard copy form, and just keep that with you anytime you do go on a Mesa related field trip, just the same as you would. And you can collect one for the entire year. So if you do, when you do your first field experience, it would be good to collect that, along with any other school-based forms that you need. And so I kind of put a general summary list, but again, every school is different. So whenever you go on a field trip, just become very familiar with what you need to leave school. Field trip information forms, medical information, whatever else your school requires, just make sure that that paperwork is done. And you can oftentimes take care of that during Mesa meeting time. I also mention here, for high schools, we have an event called our Senior Incentive Field Trip. We'll talk about that in later session today. But if you do have any seniors, that is a form that you can help fill them out, an application form. You can help them also do that there. Is there any questions on paperwork or the A0 or whatnot? Also during a Mesa meeting time, when you were talking about student activities or education, just some kind of engaging activity. Again, this way better than us at New Mexico Mesa, just, what keeps your students engaged. So it can be, just a simple activity, maybe you have an opportunity to build towers with spaghetti and marshmallows, or, maybe it's just a thinking activity. Maybe it's some sort of team building activity, especially at the start of the school year. Getting a lot of times Mesa members are not people that are not students that may interact with each other on a regular basis. So maybe you have different grade levels, you have different groups coming in. There's an opportunity for them to meet and get to know each other. Just utilize this time to do, some other type of either education or activity just to engage your students. As a note, when you register your students, based upon the number of students that you enroll in the New Mexico Mesa program, New Mexico Mesa does provide a small activity fund. So all the students that you get registered, will be able to provide you and get that money to you, either to put in a school activity fund if you prefer to spend it that way. As a Mesa advisor, you also have the access to a Mesa Amazon account, to where maybe your school is just really hard to do paperwork to be able to buy things very easily. So maybe you just prefer to just go straight through us and, work through Amazon, but there is a small budget to be able to do some of those activities or to pay for some supplies during your activity during your Mesa time. You can also reach out to your regional coordinator if there's some assistance that you want help with. And then I'll go into other resources later that you can use to find some of these activity ideas. So you don't have to necessarily recreate anything. There's a lot of stuff already available for you. General ideas for student activity, rules to live by if they're hands-on, engaging, motivational, really helpful to relate them to Mesa Day, team building, and our students love little mini competitions. And so these are just some helpful hints there. There is a question, is the Mesa sponsored by NMAA? We are considered an OST program, but we are not directly affiliated with NMAA. Like we're not, yeah. When you're talking about team building is really important. When we get into our competitions or when you're trying to build a team, oftentimes the best team is not necessarily who may already be pre-friends. It's who may work well together and who may bring different skills to the table. So a lot of these activities will help identify who may work well together, who has these different skill sets and abilities to be able to bring to a team or a competition team. Getting a little bit into service learning. So as we mentioned with Performance Watch, all of our programs are required to have at least one service learning activity. So with that, we do suggest that you do 1 or 2 a semester, just enough to allow all your students an opportunity to participate in something. This is a really great opportunity to give back to your school, to your community, and just to build that camaraderie around your Mesa program. You are able to do as many service learning projects as you would like, though. There is no limit. So like once you do your one, for some of our programs, this is a highlight for them, that this is their preference. This is their students are very service oriented, and this is where they choose to, gear their Mesa program to. These are some very general ideas, but we have also had some very creative community service projects, based upon your community and whatever they may need at the time. Guest speakers. Another thing that has kind of, been brought up now in this virtual world or this hybrid world, guest speakers, this is a great opportunity to be able to bring people into your classroom without physically having to be there. Especially now, schools still have requirements about who can come into school, who may not be able to come into school. So this is a great way to possibly even utilize your parents, your network, your familial network. Maybe they have an aunt or an uncle or somewhere. And again, opening it up to virtual, you could have a speaker from virtually anywhere and have them, Zoom in to talk to your program as needed. So, at the start of the year, when you're meeting with your parents, when you're meeting with your students, maybe they have a lead on, a really great speaker that to come and talk into your class. So this is just, a good opportunity there. And guest speakers are also very nice in person, but I know restrictions are a little bit different at every school bringing them in. And so sometimes it might be easier just to be able to Zoom in. Other items that may get taken care of at a Mesa meeting is electing your student officers. So being an officer in the Mesa program, it does count towards their loyalty award. And officers are a great way to utilize some of your students to maybe help you with some of your activities and your planning that you need. So, at the beginning of your program, maybe put some thought into, what are going to be the roles of possibly a president, a vice president, a secretary, the officer positions that you choose to have in your Mesa time. And they can even help run your Mesa meeting. That could be a task of theirs. So utilizing your student leaders and, mentoring them and helping them with those skills to help your Mesa program work. Other things you can conduct during a Mesa meeting time is fundraising logistics. If you need to split up your students, and I already talked about some of those other things, maintaining consistency and just, creating the agendas ahead of time. I would also suggest that, again, on that Mesa bulletin board, if you had a Mesa meeting and maybe not all students are able to go, maybe popping up an agenda up on that board, or just, some important stuff that you went over. So in case a student does miss for whatever reason, they're still able to catch up on maybe, what happened during that Mesa time. Now that we're switching from student meetings, and before I go on, does anyone have any questions about student meetings? So jumping into a parent meeting, mentioned you should have one parent activity for your students, and there's different types of formats. And so, but the things you can be using is you can encourage parents to sign up for things, possibly volunteering for roles if your school allows it, possibly additional chaperoning duties like for trips or for activities, for events. So whatever really works for your school, and how best to utilize parents. Some school districts require that all volunteers need to have like a background check or get signed up differently. So I'd probably look into that before your parent meeting so that they can possibly do that paperwork to get authorized to, be a helper for your Mesa time in advance. But parents are great to possibly be guest speakers, help with things. When you're getting ready for competition, oftentimes there are parents that have a very different skill set than you may have, and they may be able to help prepare your teams getting ready for competition. So there's a lot of wealth of knowledge in the bigger collective. So, being able to tap into some of that. Going into some other additional duties, grade checks. This is one of those underlying responsibilities just to being a school sponsored activity, just being an activity in general, is just to monitor their grades. Students should be passing. They should have at least a 2.0 like general programs to be within the Mesa program. Although they don't necessarily need to whatever, and also follow along with whatever rules are at your school site. If they do drop below for any kind of grades, use your school policy that they're not necessarily kicked out of Mesa. We don't want to do that, but we want to encourage them to get their grades up to be actively participatory. So, whatever that may need to happen. In high school, it is important that even though either helping or referring them to a counselor or just making sure that they're aware of the classes they should be taking, to qualify for the loyalty award, they need to just be doing the basic classes for graduation. But to get additional points in their loyalty award, they should be taking additional STEM courses, so that is good to check in with them, letting them know that that is a requirement if they want to max out on their loyalty award, that additional STEM courses that they take, additional AP, dual enrollment classes that they take, not only help them personally, not only help them for other reasons, but also help with the New Mexico Mesa Loyalty Award. Okay. And then again, they can be done at any time. And this is also sometimes a good helper to if you have to pick students to go on different activities, if you have to, when you're taking students out of class, also to stay in good graces of everyone else at your school site, just making sure that our students are passing and, that are doing well in school before taking them out for any kind of trips. Other duties as a Mesa advisor is a working relationship with your administration. So we submit the MOU, and the reason we do that is it really does take, for a Mesa program to be successful, it takes buy-in from all parties. You as the advisor are the cornerstone of that Mesa program at your school. You are the one that is leading the Mesa time. You are the direct point of contact for your students, but it also requires a working relationship with your administration to be able to approve everything that you're doing. So some helpful hints there, is letting them know what you're doing on a regular basis within the Mesa program. As Mesa staff, we'll be in communication as needed with your administration. Your regional coordinator is always there to work with you if you're having any issues, possibly with transportation or, maybe leave or maybe just working through some things. They're also a great contact to just, let your principal, let your superintendent know all the good things that you guys are doing. So just that communication is just really important there. It's also just important to let them know what's going on so they can be supportive when you do need to leave, possibly for professional development or for an activity or things like that. And it's also good just to spread the good news about what your Mesa students are doing. So, utilizing whatever you may have at your school site to spread the good news about all your Mesa goodness. So whether utilizing, newsletters, announcements, whatever may happen. So I'm going to talk a little bit about fundraising. Fundraising within Mesa is not required, but it is something that is helpful if you choose to do something, like if you want to go above and beyond, within your Mesa program, like you want to take this really great, field trip that may not be fully covered, or maybe you want to get your students all, custom Mesa jackets, or I don't know what else may happen in your school site. But, fundraising is something that could be helpful for a school program, but it is not required. Um, if you do choose to embark on fundraising, suggestions are to get on good terms with whoever is in charge of fundraising at your school. So there is no rule of thumb when we're fundraising, because every school district has different policies, like whether it's approval of the trip, then it's how you turn in your money, and then how you spend your money, and how you have to request your money. So just make sure that you know all of that before jumping into a fundraiser is the suggested. Like if you've never done one before, we have run into issues where like a teacher is mid fundraiser and then something hasn't worked right and having to interject. So it's really helpful to find all that information out ahead of time. And then just whatever it is, make sure that you are following whatever procedures, because you never want to have your Mesa account in jeopardy there at your school site. The one thing that I want to stress is that Mesa does not collect dues for participation. So whatever you do to fundraise money for your program, just Mesa is an all-inclusive program, so we don't want to make dues or any kind of financial obligation requirement for students to be able to participate. So there are no dues collection for New Mexico Mesa. Getting into some of the different types that we've talked about, I'm calling field experiences, field trips, workshops. Again, rule of thumb, familiarize yourself with whatever districts are on with regarding to people coming to your campus, how you reserve a bus, what you need to reserve a bus, what permission forms you need. If you have any COVID guidelines still in place for your district, what those are and what those needs to happen, chaperoning requirements, budget requests, like if you need to turn in paperwork ahead of time. And your regional coordinator is a great resource for this. So even though you might be new, your regional coordinator might have experience already with that district, or at least they can help navigate the waters with you and can kind of work with you as to getting, a policy in place. Like say, for instance, just, figuring out whatever needs to happen when you go off campus. Who puts that request in? Is that something that your coordinator needs to help request for you? Is that something that you do first? Do you need a purchase order, like a promise to pay, a promissory to pay when you're reserving your bus, or can you reserve a bus without that? So, a lot of those things are just really important to familiarize yourself with. And that's where that transportation agreement that I mentioned a little earlier also comes into play, kind of outlines some of those duties and, kind of responsibilities to kind of help with that. Is there any questions on what I've gone over so far? Okay. Jumping into, again, jumping back into paperwork. I've already talked about some of these forms. I mentioned already the A0, the A3, completing directly online to save data entry time. But I do want to stress that a student is not a New Mexico Mesa member without these forms, or without specifically the A0. So there are a lot of activities that could be happening right now in the next month or so, in the next few weeks. For a student to go on any of those activities, they do need to have an A0 form in. So right now is the start of the school year. Recruitment is extremely important. So whatever works best at your school when you're recruiting students, letting them know that come join Mesa and do this form. So whether it's, there we have QR codes taking them to the website. They can, again, if paper forms work best for your school, just knowing that there is that, that after entry that has to happen, if that, works best. But now when you're doing recruitment, just getting them to get signed up and to get into the Mesa program so we can start That also helps with that A0 form will directly translate to the students available in your gradebook. So the term ThinkWave, throwing that out there. Again, some of you guys have already done the training. Some of you guys have yet to do the training, but that's where those two combine. They will not be into your gradebook to be able to mark them as participatory until they do that A0 form. The other thing to track is just attendance records, just to get into that good habit of every time you do something within Mesa, just good habit to track attendance. The ThinkWave system that we're using is electronic. So for some of you, that's just habitual, that you are ready, that just works best for you, is to enter directly into, right away each time you have an activity. For others, the better way to track activity is, paper attendance. Whatever version works best for you. It is suggested to keep a hard copy attendance record, of something, or so even when you're putting them in online, occasionally just back up, your records of whatever you're putting them in. And you can enter activities for your students, as I mentioned, as soon as they have their A0 completed. And so, oh, and I didn't update that line. Training is occurring today and in August. We are already in August. So training is now in August. So now's the opportunity to do that ThinkWave training to get in that participation in there. I mentioned the term loyalty award previously for high school students. This isn't something that you have to calculate yourself. This is something that is automatically generated. And so when you're seniors and the spring semester of your senior year, they will be given, amount of the participation that they do. And this will be automatically generated for all of our students within the Mesa program. But what is really important, and just a note that all points count, even their middle school years. So as a middle school teacher, I know it's a little bit easier to detach, from a high school loyalty award or from a graduating senior. But just know that all the activities that a student does within Mesa from their 6th grade year on count towards their loyalty award. So if a student is wanting to max out on their dollar amounts, being an officer in any grade level is important. Being active, all grade levels is important. So, all teachers, all advisors, all entry at all levels just play a really important part in making sure that that student receives, the max amount of participation points that they can accrue by the time that they graduate. And so this is the major responsibility as a Mesa advisor, because if you're not doing activities, that's one first and foremost. But if you are doing activities and just not entering them, that is also the same thing, because we don't know what activities are being done. So if you are doing things, they are getting the enrichment, and it is great that they are participating in those activities, but there is no credit of those activities to give them the credit for participating in them. Is there any questions so far? The next thing I'm going to go into is into competition preparation. I mentioned we have 2 events, our Mesa Day and our Mesa USA statewide competition. Those handbooks, had every intention of getting them completed prior to today. They are going to come out very soon. They're in almost completion there, but we will be reviewing them later on in our general session. Once those handbooks do come out, review them, and, just making sure that deadlines, these competitions are both in the spring. The way that our format works is, different. The 2 events have different levels of preparation for both of them. It is helpful, like if you find it helpful to, follow the theme of these competitions, that might help you, through your year, kind of getting them prepped for these. But when you read through these, ask questions about anything that you aren't sure of. In our competitions, they're a great opportunity to get your students engaged and active. They really enjoy coming to our competitions and, taking that pride in competing, at our Mesa Day and our Mesa USA events. So other suggestions, is as you're finding, once you know what the activities are, having, again, those team building activities, that's where they can come into play, to see what students may work well together, what students will support each other and continue and stay on a team. what will happen there. You guys know the dynamics of, working teams. Is it the best decision to put maybe a girlfriend and a boyfriend on a team that might break up the night before competition? You're just using your judgment, best there to see whatever dynamics, work to, have this team succeed. And then again, just reminding that participation is required at one of our Mesa competitions. So, as far as, level of participation, regional rallies are meant to be extremely inclusive and to allow opportunities for all of our schools to participate. And those are usually done typically in the fall. Mesa Day is open to all of our programs. And again, there's different level of participation in our Mesa Day. Mesa USA is also open to all of our programs, but Mesa USA has a little bit more requirements. That's our National Engineering Design Competition. So whatever works best for your program, encourage you to possibly even do all three. All two, they are all done at different times. So, but at least think about participating in at minimum one. A lot of the stuff I went over when you're going over the competition, review the handbook, review the events, think about your teams, taking care of registration when need be. Jumping a little bit into, calendar and updates for New Mexico Mesa. On our website, there is a statewide calendar. I did check, the last couple of days. It's updated right now currently with your statewide activities. Some of your regional activities will also populate in there as your coordinator does that. So there was a question in the chat. I'm sorry, I'm backtracking a little bit here. I do have a question about homecoming and a float. If the students do this and create a float, would this count as a loyalty point? If it's a Mesa activity, then yes. So if it's not a Mesa activity, like say it's a student council activity, then probably not, because then not all Mesa, the rule of thumb is if there's an activity that all of your Mesa students have an opportunity to do, whether they do it or not, then it could count as a Mesa activity. So that would just be count as like, either a meeting, possibly if you're doing the float for something else, possibly a service learning. If it's your student officers that are doing it, it could be a leadership if they're having to design everything and manage teams, so use your judgment there. Oh, and that's a great idea to promote Mesa. That would be great. Yes. So getting into finishing up with the calendar. But whatever calendar is up online, ultimately do whatever system works best for you organizationally. So whatever calendar, whatever system you use to track deadlines, to track notes, just make note of those. Some of our deadlines, depending upon the event, are hard deadlines. Some have a little bit of wiggle room, but some are pretty strict deadlines. So just make sure you know of what deadlines are what. And there's going to be a lot of events that are going to come your way. Even this afternoon when you're going to sit in the general session, just statewide events alone, there is a lot of opportunities. And then you're going to meet with your regional coordinator and there's going to be a lot more even opportunities. And then plus, anything you may want to do on your own within a school. So, suggested there just, to prioritize, what programs work best for you, and what projects you're able to do. Some of the projects that we're going to talk about in our general session are a little bit more time intensive. So we offer a few of them, because again, something's not right for everybody. So a few teachers will do one track, a few teachers will do another track. So that doesn't necessarily mean, especially as a new advisor, taking on all of the duties. So, and if you have any questions about programs or maybe, time or how much time something will take, again, your regional coordinator is that great point of contact, to give you a realistic overview of, what's entailed to be able to do a project well, or to be able to, do that commitment well. Okay. When we're talking about resources, there are a lot of materials available. I'll show you where to find a lot on our website and just here in a minute. Again, we mentioned our account or the Mesa activity checks that will go out. You are able to use those to purchase supplies. Mentioned also the Amazon account. So your regional coordinator will be one to help set you up with getting you set up with the Amazon account if that's easier for you. You can use these funds for field trips, leaderships, and speakers, or supplies, whatever may be helpful. It's also good if you're coming in at a school I would check with your business office or check with whoever manages your money there at your school to see if your Mesa account has a balance. That'll even be an extra bonus, as you may have money in there from previous years that that you have access to within Mesa, however your activity funds are structured. So I would definitely check on that to see if there is an outstanding balance. The one thing though, if you do choose to use the Amazon option, that balance doesn't roll over. So the only balance you would have would be at your school site. Okay. There's a lot of resources on our website, and then even beyond what we have, there is a lot of resources online. As you guys know, I think teachers are the most resourceful people on the planet. So I think able to, find stuff, as they need. Some final notes here is, we're talking about communication. We're talking about, information. We do a lot of our work through email. I think at our statewide level, at our regional level, we're all trying to do an effort to not bombard you with emails. Your coordinator will even probably ask you, what is your best method of communication? I know from a statewide level, if I'm sending out an email, it's not a spam email. It's usually an important update, kind of some bulleted information with what information is upcoming. But the email that we use is the email that you give us in your, at least for statewide reasons, in your ThinkWave account. So when you go through that training, just make sure that that email in there is an email that can accept nmmesa.org emails, just because that's how we majority communicate. The other things are it's just a common practice that I'm sure you do within your school time is just, if you're giving something out to the Mesa office, make a scan, make a copy, just to always have a hard copy there with you. And if you're needing some assistance with organization and maybe how to manage things, again, utilize your student officers, utilize your regional coordinator, reach out to see how best to organize for a project. And then when we're talking about all these different options for a project, the one thing, or a school program, the one thing I want to stress is that the program at your school should be uniquely yours, in that every school program that we have looks a little bit different. You as a teacher have certain strengths that another teacher may not have. Your students may be interested in one thing that other students at another school may not be. Maybe your students really, really enjoy competition. Maybe your students really do not. Maybe your students like service learning, and every year that changes. So, doing whatever programs fit with, fit within, lost my train of thought. I was looking at the chat. Yeah, fit within, whatever program works for you. So there was a question that if a student turns in a paper copy AO form, who's responsible for entering it? So, and that is a decision to be made between the regional coordinator and the school. From my perspective, I would say that the advisor, if you want to collect paper forms, that is an entry requirement on the school advisor. Like if you choose to collect paper forms. If the coordinator would like to assist you with that process and getting them inputted in, then that is something that you can work with them on, like if you need assistance. But ideally, please utilize the electronic option to have them enter directly into the system to eliminate that data entry. But if that's something you want to take on as an advisor, just knowing that data entry has to happen. And because you're collecting the forms as the advisor, you would be primarily responsible for it, getting it uploaded into our system, but your coordinator could assist with that if you need that. So check with them first to make sure that you're set on your process.
Anita, I have a clarification. So if the teacher, the advisor, or actually the student does the registration online, then you guys I guess what I'm trying to say is, once the student does the paperwork or the parent assists with that doesn't directly go into ThinkWave, right? It goes
No, it does not.
maybe our database,
yes.
And then you guys batch it.
Yeah,
right?
so that responsibility, yes, that is done by admin. So at regular intervals, once you input the A0 form into our database, there needs to be a matching where the two systems talk to each other, a batching where we'll pull the information from our database and upload it into ThinkWave, which ThinkWave is our data management collection system. So, so that will happen. So the second a student fills out a form on the website, they're not going to pop up in your grade book. There is a delay. You can give us, few days, couple days up to a week, to get those in regular batching, for them to pop up into your grade book, because we do need to manually import those into your grade book.
Up through, just if I could add in, up through the October deadline for activity checks, we will be batching about every 48 hours. And you might wonder, like, why are we doing it this way? Is because we did combine those forms. We do need a copy on file of the parent consent, and that doesn't get uploaded into ThinkWave, into the data system. We keep that into our website in case for any reason we need to refer back to it. But what we've been doing is batches on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, so that we can catch things over the weekend, but give it a couple of days to be able to get as many of the registrations as possible. So it should be in there shortly once we get through that. If you don't see the students after a week, if you could reach out to your regional coordinator or send me an email and let me know what school you're with, I will go back in. We had that happen where there was, I don't know what got missed on my part, but when we batched in, there was one school that had like 6 students who they just were, that school just did not get entered in. So if you're having a problem seeing them in there, then let us know. We might have also put them into a different school category. I know that there's been school name changes that had happened a lot over the last couple of years, where you were known as one school and then the district decided to change it and then we changed it back. So let us know and we'll check and see what we can do. Okay, but we'll get your students in there for sure. No, students can join. Stephanie, somebody had put in there about how long they can join. We have to have a cutoff to get you your activity check. And so that cutoff is just regarding the activity check, but you can recruit students for the entire year. That is not a problem. We do have other hard deadlines. I'm sure Anita will talk about them. One is around seniors, because seniors do graduate and we need to calculate out their loyalty award. We do cut off calculation of their loyalty award at the end of December. So seniors can't really join Mesa. I mean, they could join Mesa, they're just not gonna be eligible for loyalty award after a specific date.
Yeah, so the deadline that we're referring, or that she had mentioned, I believe is October the 14th. I need to check on that, but I think that is the activity check deadline. And so that is where that is a goal though. That is where you want to try to get the most students inputted, because that's going to determine your dollar amount that you're going to receive for your activity check. So that is where you really want to do the push. That's also a big recruitment push, just trying to, that's what we determine a lot of things on that deadline, but you are eligible to recruit students throughout the year. For instance, like if, throughout the year students want to join and participate in Mesa Day, like there are deadlines in the Mesa Day handbook that will say, by the registration deadline, those students need to be entered in. So like if you're recruiting new students, but it isn't until like a month before competition, and then we put the cutoff there. So, but for the most part, and again, the other deadlines is, before you do a trip, they have to be official members of Mesa. So, maybe there's something that you have going on in January and they don't want to turn in their forms until December. So that's okay too, but they can't do anything officially, at least leaving campus, officially members of Mesa until then. And they can't accumulate points either. So like say they've been doing stuff and they just don't get that paperwork in, they can't accumulate any kind of activity points. So it's really just beneficial for them to get that paperwork turned in as soon as able. And the deadline that Ling had mentioned, it's just seniors for loyalty award, we stop calculating, at the end of December 31st. So that only pertains to your seniors there, so the fall semester of their senior year. Okay. So with that, now that I've gone over a lot of questions about requirements, before I jump in, is there any other questions that may have, please feel free to pop in, put them in the chat about requirements of the program. Okay. Now, next steps. So some of you guys have already been in contact with your coordinator. Some of you guys are already working. Some of you, this is a refresher. For those that may be brand new, some things that you should be doing is setting up a time to meet with your regional coordinator within a site visit. Work through whatever school logistics you have, if there's anything that you need to be aware of to getting your Mesa program off the ground, like what happens at school to put an announcement in? What happens at school to schedule a place for a meeting time? Those kind of things. When am I going to set up my meeting time? So, make the contacts that you need to review your school policies. Set your times for your parent meetings, for recruit meetings, for student meetings. Again, activity is starting to happen. So getting your Mesa meetings kicked off here as soon as possible to start getting that paperwork in. Setting up a recruitment plan if you don't already have, maybe that's working with other teachers at your school, maybe that's working through your school counselor, to get students into Mesa. And then also setting out your goals and your plans with your regional coordinator. And a lot of times that happens at your meet. So, those are those first steps as to what you should be doing now. And then these are questions. I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to stop my share here for a minute. I'm going to go ahead and change my screens here. Okay. The next thing, we kind of talked a lot about our website. And so this is an opportunity. I want to kind of show you where things are on our website. So when you come in, oh, sorry, disregard. That was the back end. That was the staff end. You don't see that. But our Mesa, when you come into the Mesa website, again, this is the homepage. Again, different events. We'll typically scroll through here, depending upon what we have going on. So again, if you refer your students or your parents here, if they click right here, it'll take them right to where they have to fill out their A0 form, upcoming events, any news are kind of here on the side. The tabs up here to note, students, advisor tab, and where things are all up here. So again, as a teacher, we come here to the advisor tab. This has a lot of the links that you're going to need immediately as a teacher. You can save thinkwave.com, or if you ever just want to just come in here, click, these will take you to our ThinkWave system to put in your password. As I mentioned, our advisor handbook, there is a link here. There's a couple of recruitment flyers that are kind of out there, or you can even make your own, whatever works best for you. Some basic news there. If you click on the advisor handbook, I already kind of clicked on that. This is where you can find the guidebook for the year. So I want to take a second to just kind of show you where things are at in the handbook. Here at the beginning, you're going to find the contact information of everybody in Mesa. Again, whoever your regional coordinator is, please take note of their information, their email, all of their information. For North region, if there are any I know there are some here in the North region. We have hired a new coordinator, and her first day is actually today. She's on the line with us, Andrea Manzanares. But for today, or for the kicking start, I'll be assisting her with today's events. Again, going into, what Mesa is. Also, just want to make a quick note. I don't think I covered this here. A lot of times we'll refer to, we have New Mexico Mesa. That's our organization here within the state of New Mexico. We also part of a bigger conglomerate, part of a Mesa USA collaborative. So right now, currently, there are 10 other states that have Mesa programs. So there are some things that we do together. So we will have some professional developments together. We have a competition together. So we're just part of this bigger collective of Mesa across the country. Here again is some information on the different regions, how we're organized. Again, goes over MIMS, goes over our resources, goes links, everything we talked about, advisor responsibilities, expectations are all in here. The different requirements of our program. So anything I talked over today, there is a manual that has everything listed if you need to refer to. The chart that I showed up online is nice here in the handbook for you to use. Again, talking about setting up a structure of a Mesa meeting. It has some additional ideas, has some additional activities, goes into a summary of some of our statewide events for you to have, talks about our loyalty award for well, it's also, and I say for high school students, the loyalty award pays out in high school, but it is important to be aware of the loyalty award for all levels, just because all levels are important in helping to prepare a student to receive that loyalty award. Again, just some other tips here. As of note, the B1 contract that is in the handbook, because we switched systems over the summer, there is some wording. The B1 contract that is live and up on our on our website for download, the contract is accurate and includes the A0 form. We created this handbook prior to that change. And just again, a general timeline of use. So this is the resource for you to kind of pull up just so that you know where it's at. That is, again, if you can find it through advisors. It's also here in resources. Some other places that I'm going to show you here on the website is, once you get situated, we're talking about, regional events, regional information. Whenever you're trying to find, your coordinator also has their little page, has the page to work with to be able to post information for you. So for instance, I'm going to highlight Central Inner Region here. Miss Kim Shearer, our Central Region Coordinator. Each region page lists all the schools within that region. If there's anything specific to your region, it'll be placed here. And along with, again, events and news that are kind of standard for all of them. So every region does have a page. When we're talking about statewide events or even regional events or any events that are created by a Mesa staff person on the website will be in here in upcoming events. So right now, the two things that are there are the professional development series today. And for North Region, I did create a page for an upcoming trip that they have coming up. Typically, an event page will have all the information for the event, including where and how to register for it. So very shortly will be a page for Mesa Day, and it'll have the handbook links. It'll have everything you need to know for Mesa Day. And when the time comes, there'll be a red register button to be able to register for the event. So it's, again, if your emails will come with stuff, but this is also a great resource to find things, if you need, specifically for statewide events, as all of statewide events are managed through our website. Also here, this is the calendar that I was mentioning. To be able to find, some major statewide dates. The next tab, this is really important, especially as a new advisor when you're looking for things, is our different resources. The things that are on here, we just have a little collection of, other places to go find things, for different activities. Here in curriculum, we do have a Mesa curriculum that we created last year. We have actually a few versions, and then curriculum that was done a few years ago. Pretty much they're all uploaded here. To be able to use the curriculum, you do need to complete an agreement link, and then you'll be sent a password because everything is password protected. But if you are interested in using those, and when I say curriculum, like this Mesa, this one in particular here has just, different lessons that you're able to do within your Mesa time. So that could be helpful for you. The next one I want to go to here is activity downloads. These were all created with a partnership. So these are all little mini activities that are great for a meeting time. You can pull them out, different activity downloads for anything. They're all here for you. There's also some lesson activity packets, whatever you may need. They're all here on our website. Digital learning, I have started to restructure this page a little bit now that we're transitioning back from virtual to in-person to kind of this hybrid little mix of activities here. We still have a repository, and we have a great resource of digital recordings of YouTube of our past STEM series, of our college and career conference, of all of our professional developments that we have, and they're all uploaded on our Mesa YouTube. And so we have some activities created. So these are activities that you can do with any recorded STEM series. So if you want to have your students watch a past STEM series, they can do an activities, and I will be putting up the lessons and making it a little clearer there. We will not be doing Towering Above Live, but we will be putting up resources here if you want to do a competition at your site. If you want to do a service learning at your site, just being able to provide you ready-made activities that you can use and implement with the resources that we do have. Okay. So those are a lot of, and then again, if you're looking for forms, you would just go here to Mesa Standard Forms. So this is the place that you would go to here on our website. The last thing I do want to pull up, just because I talked about it here a lot, is you can either, there is a link here, or you can just go to your own YouTube channel and type in New Mexico Mesa. But here on New Mexico Mesa, the playlist that we currently do have, the one thing I do want to highlight, so when I'm talking about STEM series, we started this in 2019 once COVID hit, and so we turned a lot of our programming virtual. So we invited guest speakers from across, the country, to come in and talk about different STEM topics. So over the last 3 years, we've had some pretty amazing speakers, veterinary medicine, NASA, different universities and their programs. So there is a wide variety of programs that are already here. Space Chile, Energy New Mexico, Spaceport America. So there's already a lot of topics here that are all recorded here for your use. When I'm talking STEM series, that's what that is. We are waiting to see the need for virtual activities this year, if that's something that will be attended and that is requested. But I think this year, the feeling that we're getting is everyone's excited to go back to somewhat live activities. So kind of using this hybrid format for now at the beginning. And yes, so there was a question that Kim had answered. Can we use the videos for meetings? Yes, please. That's what they're all here for. The other lessons that we will be creating, we did have an event. It was an online college and career pathways conference in which we basically had a week of different college visits and different experiences. And so we did go ahead, and again, sharing Nick there on the screen, but all of those sessions again were recorded and placed online. So there's virtual visits to all of these universities, paying for college, different way I work sessions. And again, that's what I'm working on presently now, is putting up corresponding lessons so that if you do want to use one of these within your Mesa time, you're able to translate that. Like, what did the speaker do? Maybe send them on an individual web quest to find current information. But this is another, again, helpful resource of things that we have available just online for. For teachers, we had our summer professional development. If you want to catch up on any sessions we did over the summer, all of our sessions are also here online. Okay. So again, all of those are available to the public. So, and to use during your Mesa time. So, give a perusal, if there's anything there that might work within your Mesa time. There's a lot of resources for you. So, okay. So with that being said, is there any questions from anybody on anything that I covered?
Anita, this is Manny. I had a question from one of the advisors asking about the points from previous years. So can you provide a little bit more insight on that? I know that those are getting transferred, but we can't see those just yet, right? I mean, we're still working on all of this,
so the
correct?
process that's going to happen is essentially within Mesa, we're converting our data collection systems. So if you had any familiarity with Mesa before, the word MIMS, that was our old database system, MIMS. That's where we collected all of our data from. We went into a transition last year that was a little rocky there. But so there is a process where we're pulling in points from our old MIMS system, some manual calculations there that will eventually be inputted into the ThinkWave system. So we're hiring actually for data entry personnel to help us with that big task of that transfer of data over. So at some point within this fall semester, you should expect to see a column entered in from a statewide office that just says like old MIMS points or 20, up to that point. And so that'll basically catch them up within the ThinkWave system so that when we're working from ThinkWave forward, we'll have the collection from past years up to the present year, if that helps. So it's not there yet because it does have some sort of, transferring data from an old system to a newer system. So they won't be able to pull up within ThinkWave specific activities, but there will be a bulk like point amount, like this student already has 550 points accumulated thus far. And that will be listed into ThinkWave.
And everyone from last year that graduated already got their points anyway, correct?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay.
So it's
perfect.
just, it's just getting everybody current. That's everyone that was in Mesa in sixth grade will, like sixth grade last year, will have that calculation put in there. It's just going to take us a little bit of time to get everybody caught up, but we'll go ahead and do that process when we're coming into ThinkWave.
Thank you, Anita.
Are there any other questions? You guys are an easy bunch. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and put in the chat the link to, if you want to go ahead and complete this information for your stipend for participation today. And again, just as a reminder for today is kind of a choose your own adventure kind of day. Depending upon what you signed up for, use the same Zoom link to pop in and out throughout the day. We have the next session, the BattleBot session, if you signed up for that, or if that's of interest to you, at 10 o'clock. Later on today, we have another ThinkWave session. If you did not already do one, either yesterday or in July, that is also this afternoon. And then this afternoon at 3:30, we will have our Mesa general session, and then followed up with our regional meetings. So again, I'm sure I will see you guys throughout the day, just depending upon, what you signed up for. But before you do leave today's session, just go ahead and make sure and complete your survey link.